I think it's about time we talk about this. Neo has a major governance problem. And I have strong belief that some of Neo's stagnant growth is due to the way that Neo 3's governance is set up and is run. Now let me go into a bit of detail here to explain what I mean. So, flashback to Neo Center Point number 1, the inaugural Neo Center Point that I was at along with our lovely Neo community earlier this year. We had some discussions that surrounded the fact that this Neo gathering for the Neo community and the people who are with Neo and develop on Neo, while had some very passionate people, was also missing some very prominent people. And those prominent people that were missing, well, first of all, this isn't the first Neo-related thing that they've been missing from. They haven't been seen online, they haven't been seen at other events. It's almost like they don't really matter. But the thing is, they matter a ton to the Neo ecosystem. And why is that? That is because I am referring to none other than the Neo Council. Now, to be clear, I'm not talking about all Neo Council members, but I am talking about a select few. Now, what is Neo Council? Who are the Neo Council, first of all? Well, let's go over to neo.governance.org and let's take a look at all the Neo Council members. So first you have the Neo Order, Neo Foundation, Neo Global Development, which these are definitely run by Neo themselves, Axe Labs, Lazy Node, COZ, Hashkey Cloud, Neo News Today, Everstake, Make Neo Great Again, Be Neo Representative, Binance Staking, Flamingo, Nash, Neoline, Infinity Stones, and Switcheo Labs. So to be in the Neo Council, you must be in the top 21 of nodes. Now, I'm not going to call anyone out here, but let's just leave this deduction up to imagination. Now, who did we see at Neo Center Point? Of those Neo Council, or the people in the top 21? Well, we saw Axe Labs, Neo News Today, COZ, and of course there was some people from Neo Global Development. That's it? Hi, I just want to interrupt that handsome man right here just to deliver a PSA. This video was filmed before Neo Center Point number 2, so I do want to point out that some of the names not listed by me and not present at Neo Center Point 1 did end up showing up to Neo Center Point 2, and afterwards have been getting more and more involved in the community. We're seeing more involvement from a lot of these council members, which is great, and that's what we want to see, and that's what I'm complaining about in this video. But I just want to point out all my knowledge here is prior to Neo Center Point 2. Cool. Now, unless I'm missing something, it's possible I might have missed one. Even if you count all of the Neo Global Development nodes, that's less than half of the Neo Council participating actively in the community. That's a problem. And that's the beginning, and just the beginning, of the Neo governance problem. Okay, so you're wondering, hey, UTC, who cares, you know, what do they owe the community? Well, let me tell you what they owe the community. So I was only able to go to Neo Center Point to share my story, to also film it and show that what kind of things are going on in the Neo community, so you guys could also see the footage. You know, if you haven't seen those videos, they're on my channel. Because of grant shares and also a nomination from Neo News Today. So that's 2 Neo Council members that are doing their job to help grow and spread the word of Neo. Okay? Now, they didn't do this out of the goodness of their heart. Well, maybe they did. I don't know them. They're good guys. I met them. But it's mostly because every single block that happens in Neo, the council members get a piece of the share. So they are getting paid to be a council member and run a node on the network. And what these groups did is they took some of that money that was given to them in the form of gas and sponsored it towards grant shares, which helped me get some more word out about Neo and what's going around in the community and help grow the community itself. So they are doing their part to grow Neo and also use the funds that they get from running a node and being a Neo council member and use it towards the growth of Neo, which is what every council member should be doing when they get their shares paid of gas. Right now, we're basically saying there are multiple nodes, maybe half of council members that are doing absolutely nothing but collecting a check. Now, let's put this in perspective. If you at your full-time job, decided just to show up, or not even show up, just work 100% remote and collect paychecks, just kick back, relax, kick the feet up. We're getting paychecks no matter what happens, collect them, bring them to me. Now, if you did that at your day job, how long do you think you'd have a job for? I know if I did that in my job, I wouldn't last more than a week probably. But the problem with these nodes and these council members that aren't participating in the community, aren't using their funds towards the growth of Neo, is that's exactly what they're doing. They're kicking their feet back, they're collecting their paychecks, and the thing is, because of how Neo's governance is set up, nobody can stop them and nobody can tell them otherwise. So they just happily collect their checks and they are not forced to do anything. That is the problem of Neo. Now, to get into the technical sides of why someone can't stop them or get a new node, or what if they're a council member, can we kick them out? What can happen? The answer is not really. And I'm going to explain the technicals behind why that is the case. Imagine a scenario where the unlocking the chain channel wants to spin up a node on Neo 3. So I go ahead and create the UTC node. And how does it work? Let's say I fund 10 Neo to this node. Well, that gives me 10 total votes. How do I become a Neo council member? Well, it's a simple process. All you need to do is get enough votes to get into the Neo council. And one Neo is one vote. Okay, which means to get into the Neo council today, you have to have over 800,000 Neo. Can we just put in USD right here? What that amount is? Do you expect a scrub like me to be able to get those amount of funds and votes in order to run a node? The answer is not really, but maybe. And if you say, hey, Mr. UTC boy, what if you just got the community members and some of the whales to throw in their votes on you? Sure, why don't we do that? Let's say I convince Super Rich Whale Man number 1 to throw 100,000 votes on me for my Neo node. Now I'm at 100,000 Neo. Instead, I still need to get to that 800,000. Who knows how long this could take? It could take days, weeks, months. The problem is, while that whale gives votes for my node for 100,000 Neo, they will earn nothing on their Neo. Nothing. Hey, it's me again. They don't earn nothing. They earn 10% of the rewards they would have been, which is not nothing, but that's really not good. Would you like 10% of your paycheck and just get rid of the rest of the 90%? No. Who would want that? Nobody. This is because in order to get the extra 90% of gas rewards that you get for voting, you must be voting for someone in the top 21 nodes. So Mr. Whale with 100k Neo who's voting for me, until my node gets enough votes to pop myself into the top 21, that person will own basically no gas. I mean, they still get the 10%, but they're losing out on 90% of their gas revenue by voting for me. So what's the incentive to vote for me? That's right, absolutely nothing. So the only way to become a council member and kick out those nodes that are super inactive and not doing anything for the community is, yes, of course, to get all 800,000 at once so you can guarantee that anyone who votes for you will be getting the maximum gas rewards. The reality of getting 800k Neo, again, lots of money, is basically none. It's not happening. So while Neo is decentralized by nature, that anybody can spin up a node, anybody can vote for whatever node, and anyone can bounce their way into the council member slots of the top 21, the reality is it's very centralized in the fact that whoever's in the top 21, there's basically no chance of anyone kicking them out because there's no incentive for any voters to vote for anyone else except for the people in the top 21. So the reality is the top 21 is basically never going to change unless the governance of Neo changes. Now, why forever ago when Neo 3 was born did they decide only the people who vote for the top 21 nodes are allowed to get all the rewards? I don't know why they made that decision. But what I want to do today is just discuss what I had some learnings when I was in Dubai for Neo Centerpoint and some of the talks I had with some community members on what, at least from my perspective, I believe could be a great solution to this problem. Because the reality is, Neo is centralized, and we will have a bunch of council member nodes that will do nothing but collect a paycheck until the end of time unless the Neo governance is fixed. And yes, I would love to run a node, but the reality is I can't run a node unless I want to just lose out on all Neo rewards for the foreseeable future and get nothing in return. It's not going to happen. So my proposition for this solution is simple. Drop the requirement for voting for the top 21 in order to get full rewards. If you get full rewards, as I said, Neo is split up to 10% just to all holders of Neo and 90% for voters of the top 21. Change it to 90% if you vote at all. It doesn't matter who you vote for, as long as you're voting, you get the rewards. Another comparison, it's like, what if you had an election and you had a list of candidates, 5 candidates that you could vote for, but they're like, listen, I'll give you your full paycheck as long as you vote for one of the top 3 people. If you vote for one of the bottom 2 people, I'm only giving you 10% of your paycheck. Like, that doesn't even make sense. So, like, compare that to Neo governance. Allow all people that are voting to get the full rewards, regardless if they're voting for a top 21. Now, for example, if we allow this so that anyone who is voting for a node gets the full rewards, then Mr. Unlocking the Chain, who's a small scrub from Canada, can start his node, and then he can start a campaign. So yes, even if 800,000 is a crazy amount of Neo to get for, maybe I can spend the next year campaigning for people to vote for me. The incentive is, if Mr. Whale that has 100k Neo now votes for me, instead of losing all of his rewards, he still gets the exact same amount of rewards that he would have got if he voted for one of the top 21 candidates. Great, so the incentive is, your vote actually goes towards someone that you think will be useful to the community or will help Neo grow, instead of whichever candidate is going to make you the most money. Now, that's another thing that I actually forgot to mention about the way Neo governance works. It's a bit silly, but the node in number 21 slot actually makes more gas per block than the one at number 1. So you're actually incentivized to vote for number 21 or the bottom portion than you are the top one. So, it's really, when you're voting for a node, you're just voting for whoever's at the bottom because you want to make the most amount of money. Like, let's be honest here. We're all human. We want to make money. We're not in crypto just for the memes and the tech. As much as it's cool, we love the tech. We are in it for the money. We got to be honest with ourselves here. So basically, the summarization is the way that Neo's governance system works right now incentivizes voting to make the most amount of gas or money. What we should be switching it to is voting for the node or the group of people that will benefit the ecosystem the best. So instead of somebody voting for Switcheo Labs, which I could not even tell you what they do in Neo anymore, or Infinity Stones, I've never heard of them and I feel like I've been in the community, you can now vote for UTC. Okay, UTC is a channel that posts Neo-related content, who is spreading the word about Neo. And if he had these funds, maybe he could go to more Neo-related events. He could use the money to help grow the community. You know, he could use it to fund different projects on growing on Neo, like use it to grow his channel, which in turn could help grow the Neo ecosystem. Well, already you have a lot of things that some of these Neo Council members have done literally zero of, because, you know, they're just collecting their paychecks, right? So someone would be able to vote for my node and vote for me just because they want to support my vision and my cause, rather than the fact that they have to vote for someone just because they want to make the most amount of money. Now, to me, that feels like the simplest fix without overhauling too much about how the Neo governance system works. Guess who's back again? One last thing I want to point out. I know Eric Zhang is back. We're all happy about it. It's great. And I know he's already listed some ideas for Neo 4, and some of it includes some governance stuff. What I want to make clear and why I made this video is I want the community to be involved. This shouldn't be a decision by Eric himself. This should be a collective of the council, a collective of every participating community member to come out with the best solution for the Neo platform for its entirety of its future. We don't have to go with what he said. We can go with what he said, but we need community discussion and passion behind this topic, because it is one of the most important things for Neo's future. Now, I know this probably destroys the whole point of Be Neo and how it balances, you know, between nodes to make the most amount of money, but at least Be Neo will always be divisible, so we'll keep it for that. But the reality is, the way the governance system works now is really bad for the growth of Neo, and it's something that just needs to be fixed. Whether my solution is the best solution or not doesn't matter. It's what I feel is the best, but we need a solution that allows anyone to spin up a node and also gives anyone the ability to vote for any node they want that they feel would be best for the Neo ecosystem without ever having to worry about their rewards or their profits being cut because of it. We need to be incentivized by community growth and Neo growth rather than pure gains and money. Now, I feel like I just rambled for like way too long, so hopefully I can at least cut this together into some sort of a comprehensive video on the problem with Neo governance and what we can do to solve it. Because again, as much as I would love to run a node for Neo, there's zero incentive to, because my node will never ever get to the Neo Council of level 21 or higher. It's impossible. And that goes for me or any other company or organization that would want to do this. It needs to be changed. I would love to hear everyone's thoughts on this video and also on Neo governance. Do you guys agree with my idea? What do you guys think of the current state of Neo governance, and should something be changed? That's kind of what I'm looking for. Let's just start some discussion. I made this video so that we can start some discussion and hopefully get this process moving forward so we can fix Neo governance, which will greatly help the growth of Neo in the future. Without it, we're going to have stagnant community council members doing nothing to help Neo. In fact, more than likely dragging it down and just sucking liquidity out of the system, which is the worst thing you can do for a growing blockchain. That's all I have. This was a very passionate, heated discussion for me, so I hope the point came across well, and I hope you all understood everything I was saying. But take care. UTC out.